Before I start doing short bio of all the K-pop groups, I think it would be nice to break down the K-pop generation throughout the history. Now, depending on who you ask, the generation is split based on different ideas. Here's mine, and watching this will help you grasp the idea of how Korean music has evolved through time. Naturally, it is biased toward my way of thinking, but I think it does a good job covering other bases. Unfortunately, I cannot cover everything in such a short video, so here are some things to know as you watch the video, before I start. Now the term K-pop has become equal to being idol nowadays, but it wasn't so in the beginning. The term idol concept didn't exist in the beginning. More popular were singers, entertainers, and that's what they were. They didn't work with certain concept for singers, they just sang like any other singers. This is the pre-first generation era. In the 80s, most of the musicians were not in their teens as they are now, but rather in their mid-20s and 30s. Music choices were geared toward everyone, not just the younger generations. Perhaps it was this general approach that lacked the connection needed to make music modern for the younger generation. Despite the growing music industry, the 10s and 20s were hungry for music that I wanted to connect with. At least in the 80s, it is safe to say that Western music were equally famous among young generation than their own counterparts. Being the first in anything have the luxury of influencing the next generations. What our generation would refer to as K-pop start with these two icons in this era, Sotej and the Boys and Deuce. Many of us are too young to understand the influences Sotej and the Boys had. With all my research so far, this icon single-handedly brought modern K-pop music into the generation, breaking cultural norms and hopes and dreams for the future generation to come. And if I had to pick one group to represent K-pop, it would be them without a close second. The influences shaped the whole modern music that we are experiencing today. Another group that spread K-pop is called Deuce. Deuce was the first duo that brought Western music into Korea in the 90s, specifically hip-hop. The prejudice amongst Koreans believing hip-hop wasn't modern music was broken by this group, and many other underground music were able to enjoy the spotlight due to the role carved by this group. This generation is also known as the Generation Zero. I guess when one thinks of when the Korean music become more commercialized, this is it. This is technically when the music started shaping into K-pop as we know today. Although music has been around for a long time, it is this generation that will later create the companies, systems, and idols that we know as of today. It all started with a boy group named H.O.T. created by SM Entertainment. With the popularity of this group, the modern music focused on the younger generation, and the births of Gayo Top 10 and Music Bank were created to cater to the new market. This is also the turning point where systems were created to bring boy-girl idol groups and individuals to the limelight. The first generation is marked by individuals and groups who are able to compete in the same level as idols. Nowadays, the competition for first place is usually between two idol groups, but it wasn't so in the first generation. It also created a fan club, rivalry, color balloons, and glow sticks to ID the group. The whole idea of anti-fans, bias, nugu, and other terms were starting to emerge, and the concepts were starting to appear in order to differentiate one group from another. The first generation is also known as the classics. With every boom, there's a decline. This is the 1.5 generations. With the breakup, decline, and hiatus from groups, new breeds of singers were being created. One was solo artist. Unlike the first generation, where a group dominated the market, this generation created the most talented entertainers. They went on extensive training in all areas to bring out the best in idol group into one. Most notably, Seven, Rain, Psy, Boa, Hyori, whom are still active in Hallyu one wave. Second was popularity of great singers. Although idol groups were still the mainstream, with the decline of the first generation group, many ballet and R&B singers came to dominate the scene. Using high notes, vibration, and falsetto, many fans were trying to imitate the skill that they admired. Unlike the solo artists, the great singers ended the generation quickly, with high exposure and only becoming a singing sensation. Without the charisma to appear in TV, variety, and entertainment industry, their fame quickly faded. This is something being repeated even now. Despite all of it, some of the most popular songs in karaoke is from this era, and many of the rendition of songs you hear today on shows are from this generation as well. Hence, 1.5 generation is called the karaoke generation. Although second generation started in 2004, most of the boom came near the end. In 2007, JYP Entertainment created a rookie group called Wonder Girls, whose title track Tell Me, which brought on unseen talent missing from the previous generation. This group is well known for popularizing hook song and signature dance moves for the general audience. This brought a new way to grade the idol standards. The lyrical art started to take the backseat in favor of visual art, and pretty much all other genres got burned in the music chart. With the popularity of K-pop music on the rise, they expanded into more areas. Thanks to the advance of technology of ubiquitous internet access, the Hallyu wave became popularized in this era and would come to bring the next generation of idols. Considering people who got into K-pop, this is probably their first exposure to Korean music. This generation is affectionately known as the Hallyu stutters. After seeing the massive success of Wonder Girls, the next generation would follow using similar style and medium. One particular transition here is specializing in electronics as medium for all K-pop music. Using a synthesizer to create distinct sound gave birth to a specific K-pop sound. Although the style has evolved with time, the synthesizers are still used heavily in the K-pop industry. At this point, unlike the second generations, companies were starting to prospect training to go overseas, creating groups with different ethnicity other than Koreans, hoping to have more global share of the market. Naturally, with any saturated market, many controversies started to occur. A group disbanding before hitting its potential, idols taking wrong turn, lawsuits, illegal sponsor, but nevertheless, it had no intention of slowing down. This generation is often referred to as the Golden Age. Fourth generation took an interesting turn. All the previous generation had been focusing on sharing the similar market, but this generation took a different idea. With the popularity of audition-based program, many realized potential of talents that is now fostered by big companies. It was no longer what the company can make, but what the individual can bring. There seems to be a turn every 3-4 years in the direction of K-pop waves. The fourth generation is coming to a close soon. I see this generation as being referred to as audition generation, and we'll see what the future will hold. Despite all the concern people have in regards to K-pop, I'm never worried. Music will be always in any society. Wherever K-pop will go, so will the hearts of the people who love K-pop. I for one are always hopeful and can't wait till the fifth generation to come along.